You've been told to chill your butter and freeze your water for pie crust. The old Amish way does the exact opposite, and it creates a flakiness so tender my grandmother's pies were famous across 3 counties. But here is the part that should make you uneasy. The baking industry knows this secret, and they have buried it under $50 gadgets they sell you every holiday season. Stick around. I am about to show you the real way, and once you see it, you will never buy a boxed crust again. My name is Jeremiah Byler. I am 64 years old, an old world homesteader, and for the last 40 odd autumns, I have been the head cook at our community's 3-day harvest supper meal, where we feed 150 hungry hands using nothing but one wood fired cast iron stove, 2 outdoor fire pest iron stove, 2 outdoor fire pits, and whatever the land has given us. I started at my mother's apron strings when I was 5, peeling potatoes with a dull paring knife while she hummed hymns in Low German. I am not a classically trained chef. I am a practitioner, a man whose hands know the feel of bread dough that has risen just right, whose ears know the hiss of a properly hot skillet, and whose nose can tell you exactly when a pot of beans has reached creamy tenderness. I am here to tell you, plainly and without apology, that everything you think you know about cooking, the expensive gadgets, the precise temperatures, the exotic ingredients, the rigid timers, the English have gotten entirely backward. They have turned the most natural act of human existence into a complicated, stressful, expensive chore that strips the nutrition out of your food and hands your hard earned dollars to corporate kitchens. Here is the part that should make you uneasy. The modern food and cookware industries are built to keep you dependent on non-stick pans that flake toxic chemicals into your eggs, forcing you to buy a new one every 18 months. Dependent on prepackaged seasoning packets that sell you 10 cents of salt for $3. Dependent on recipe books and premium channels that make you believe cooking requires training, a $400 stand mixer, a $50 cast iron press. I have watched my grandmother stretch a single smoked ham hock, cost maybe $1 into a full week of suppers, using nothing but a knife, one heavy pot, a wooden spoon, and the cold air of the cellar. The $400 billion food industry has built an empire on a lie. The lie is that old knowledge is obsolete. The truth is that old knowledge is free, and they cannot patent it, cannot package it, cannot charge you a subscription for it. And that is precisely why they have worked so hard for so long to make sure you never learn it. So why is your food bland? Why does that expensive chicken breast stick to the pan like glue? Why do your vegetables turn to gray mush? Why do you spend 2 exhausting hours in the kitchen and still end up with something your family eats only out of politeness? You are fighting against the food instead of working with it. The modern kitchen treats ingredients like math equations, precise, mechanical, rigid. But food is alive. It has water content that moves and steams, fiber structures that break down at different temperatures, natural enzymes, natural yeasts, natural acids that interact with heat, fat, salt, and time. The old way leverages all of that. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 hacks, none costing more than $1 or $2, that my people and the Appalachian mountain folk have used since long before the light bulb was invented. Once you learn these, you will never do it the wrong way again. First, cast iron. The English have convinced you that seasoning a cast iron pan is a complicated science project. They tell you to buy expensive organic flaxseed oil for $12 and bake your pan upside down at 500 degrees for a full hour, filling your kitchen with smoke. Here is the real method. After you finish cooking, scrape out the big bits with a metal spatula. Rinse it with hot water to soften stuck-on crust. But here is where everyone makes the fatal mistake. They reach for the dish soap. Stop that. Soap strips the polymerized oil layer right off the surface. Instead, take a handful of coarse kosher salt, about a quarter cup, and a cut potato, skin still on. Use the potato skin as your scrubber and the salt as your abrasive. Now rinse it with cold water, not hot. Ice cold if you have it. The cold shock causes the microscopic pores of the cast iron to contract and close, squeezing out trapped moisture. Then set it back on the burner over medium flame for 60 seconds until the water beads up and dances away. Turn off the heat. Take a clean rag and dip it into a small dish of rendered lard, not olive oil, not shortening, but real leaf lard, and wipe the entire surface with a whisper thin coat. The residual heat melts it into the tightened pores. One cold rinse, one hot dry, one whisper of lard. Do that once, and for the next 100 meals, nothing will ever stick to that pan again. The non-stick industry would go bankrupt if everyone knew this. Now gravy. Nothing frustrates me more than watching the English make gravy. They have good pan drippings and they ruin it with lumpy, pasty results. They reach for cornstarch, which creates that strange, glossy slime. They reach for a packaged mix full of MSG. Before you add any liquid to your hot pan, take 2 level tablespoons of plain white flour and dredge it directly into the hot fat, not all at once, but like you are scattering grain. And here's the hard rule. You must stir that flour continuously for a full 4 minutes over a low flame. You are toasting it until it turns the precise shade of a brown paper grocery bag. That color means the starches have undergone the Maillard reaction, developing a deep, nutty complexity. Now you add your liquid cold, not room temperature, not warm broth, ice cold milk, cold water, or cold stock. The cold liquid hits the hot toasted roux, and the shock causes the starch molecules to expand and separate instantly, creating a perfectly smooth, velvety emulsion that will never clump. Commercial gravy mixes charge you $4. This costs 10 cents. Next, dried beans. The English soak them overnight, boil them for 2 hours, and they still come out hard and mealy. Start with 1 pound of dried pintos. Soak them overnight in plain water. In the morning, drain that water completely. It contains the oligosaccharides that give you gas. Put the beans in fresh water. Bring to a rolling boil for 3 minutes, then drain again. A second drain removes even more of the complex sugars. For the third and final cooking water, add a half teaspoon of baking soda and 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter. The baking soda raises the pH, breaking down the pectin in the skins. The butter helps heat transfer. Now add a 2-inch strip of dried kombu seaweed. It releases natural glutamates that tenderize the beans without making them taste like the ocean. Simmer on the lowest flame for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now, and this is crucial, now you add your salt. Never salt beans at the beginning. Salt toughens the skins. But at the end, a teaspoon of fine sea salt transforms the pot from bland mush to savory goodness. The canned bean industry sells you this for $2 a can. This costs 15 cents. Now eggs. You need whites for a meringue pie. You crack the egg, fumble with the shell, the yolk breaks, you curse. The English sell a little plastic separator for $15. Throw it away. Take a clean, empty glass soda bottle, the standard 12-ounce size. Crack your egg into a shallow bowl. Squeeze the bottle gently, tilt it. Press the mouth firmly over the yolk and release. The vacuum pulls the intact yolk right up into the bottle in 1 second. Tip it over a second bowl, release the squeeze, and the yolk slides out, leaving the pristine white behind. No shell shards, no broken yolks. Cost nothing but the soda you already drank. Now, pie crust. The English make it a religious ordeal. Chill the butter, freeze the shortening, use a food processor, rest the dough 3 times. I have baked over 2,000 pies. My crust is tender, flaky, golden, and I make it in 8 minutes. Use room temperature butter. Cut it into your flour, but not too fine. You want pea-sized chunks. Take 1 raw set potato. Grate it until you have a quarter cup of fine shreds. Mix those shreds right into the flour and butter. The potato starch absorbs moisture, and during baking, trapped moisture turns to steam, creating hundreds of microscopic air pockets that is your flakiness. For the liquid, use 3 tablespoons of ice-cold pickle juice. The vinegar inhibits gluten development just enough to keep the crust from getting tough, and it adds a faint tang that balances the richness. Mix just until it comes together. No chilling required. Roll it out, fit it to your pan, bake it blind for 12 minutes. Commercial crust mixes cost $5. My crust costs 60 cents. Now greens. Collards, kale, mustard greens, the English, boil them to death for 45 minutes until they are olive gray slime. Here is the real way. Wash your greens and tear the leaves from the thick stems. Place those wet leaves into a dry, cold cast iron skillet. No oil, no water. Turn the burner to the lowest flame. As the pan warms slowly, the water from washing the greens begins to sweat out, creating a gentle steam. After 3 minutes, when they are wilted but still brilliant green, remove the lid, turn the heat to high, and add 1 tablespoon of bacon fat or lard. Let it sizzle. Add a generous splash of raw apple cider vinegar, not the white stuff, and a bare pinch of brown sugar. Toss for exactly 60 seconds. The high heat sears smoky flavor onto the leaves. The vinegar brightens the chlorophyll. The sugar rounds off the bitter edge. They come out emerald, tender crisp, packed with iron and calcium. The frozen greens industry blanches theirs in boiling water, which is why their product is a watery mess. This method gives you restaurant quality greens for pennies. And finally, cornbread. This is my favorite because it reaches back the farthest. Before baking powder was invented, our forefathers relied on the natural alkalinity of wood ash. Take 2 cups of clean hardwood ash oak or hickory, never pine. Put it in a jar with 3 cups of water. Shake it, let it sit overnight. In the morning, strain the clear liquid. That is your lye water, a natural leavening agent. For your batter, take 2 cups of stone ground yellow cornmeal, the real meal, not the processed stuff. Add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of that strained ash water, and 1 cup of fresh buttermilk. Mix into a thick batter. Now place your 10-inch cast iron skillet in the oven at 425 degrees for 10 minutes. When it is screaming hot, pull it out, put 3 tablespoons of lard in, swirl to coat, and immediately pour the batter in. It should sizzle and hiss. That sound guarantees a dark, crunchy mahogany crust. Bake for 25 minutes. The alkaline ash water reacts with the acids in the cornmeal and buttermilk, producing carbon dioxide that lifts the bread without any commercial powder. The flavor is nutty, earthy, almost sweet. Modern cornbread mixes use chemical leavening that leaves a metallic tang. This costs pennies and carries the flavor of your great-great-grandmother's kitchen. Before we wrap up, here is a bonus. That caramelized layer stuck to your skillet after supper. The Appalachian fix is to pour a half-inch of strong black coffee into the hot pan as soon as you empty the food out. Let it sit for 2 minutes. The tannic acids immediately loosen those baked-on sugars without any scrubbing. Save that liquid and use it as a base for a smoky bean broth later that week. The industry sells you pan de glazers for $8. Coffee costs 10 cents. Let us add this up. The average American household spends $600 a year on replacement nonstick pans, specialty gadgets, premium baking mixes, and packaged broths. $600. That is a month of groceries for a family of 4 in my settlement. And what do you get? Food stripped of fiber and minerals, coated in chemicals, sealed in plastic. The big conglomerates have built a tower on your insecurity. They want you to believe you need a machine to do what your hands were born to do. The villain is not technology, electricity is a fine tool. The villain is dependence. It is the carefully engineered lie that the old wisdom is irrelevant. But the old wisdom works because it respects the food, the heat, and the hands doing the work. This weekend, take back your kitchen. Here is your checklist. Saturday morning at 8, scrub your cast iron with salt and potato skin, rinse with ice cold water, dry over low flame, wipe with lard. Saturday lunch at noon, make gravy with the cold liquid rule. Saturday evening at 6, soak a pound of beans overnight without salt. Sunday morning at 9, cook them with the double drain method, baking soda, butter, and kombu. Add salt only at the end. Sunday lunch at 12:30. Use the cold fire method for collards. Sunday afternoon at 3. Bake cornbread in a sizzling hot skillet. Sunday evening at 6. Tell someone what you learned. Teaching locks it into your hands. I have laid a heavy table before you. Pick just one hack and practice it until it becomes natural. Write to me in the comments. Tell me which surprised you most. Tell me if your grandmother did something similar. We are keepers of the flame, and a fire shared is a fire doubled. Next week, I will show you how to keep vegetables crisp for 8 months without a refrigerator using only a barrel and sand. The grocery chains have fought to bury that trick under plastic wrap and best buy dates, but that is a story for another day. Close the cookbooks. Turn off the screens. Open your pantry. Your hands know what to do. I am Jeremiah Byler, and this is the way we have always done it.